Thank you for speaking, sister. My question to you is, early in your talk, you spoke four books in the Bible. I think they were in the New Testament. I forget
Gospel.
what distinguished them, but
The Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Matthew. Okay, so I was going to ask you which ones those were. It's Matthew, Luke,
Mark and John.
Mark, and John. And I wanted to ask you, given how many hands and languages the Bible has passed through, what of the New Testament do you feel Muslims can benefit the most from reading? Because I feel like when I read the Bible, I don't know what's credible and what's not.
Right, okay, so, Bismillah. So she's asking which book of the Bible that it is more beneficial for the Muslims. To tell you honestly, I can't say any of them actually is beneficial because they all have information. They all actually have some kind of certain truth that you can actually match with what the Quran and the Hadith says. But Islam is conclusive. Really, if you read the Quran and the Hadith and learn from what Islam it is, really it has all the things that the Bible has. You don't have to actually go back and learn the Bible. But if you want to do it as to be specialized in it for your own information, but that's great. You can read the four Gospels and they all have similar story of Jesus Christ, but you will see some discrepancies. Now about the languages, and this is very interesting. You know that we don't have any Gospel, an original one with the language that Jesus spoke. None of them was in the Aramaic language. All the Gospels that we have are actually Greek. They're actually Greek. How is that? Well, the justification for that the Aramaic was copied to Greek or translated to Greek, and then the Aramaic got lost. So we don't have the original language of Jesus, of the four Gospels. Now the letters of Paul, they were all written in Greek. That's what they say. About the Old Testament, I studied two classes actually. It's called the Old Testament, and it talks about the manuscripts. They call it the high criticism, al-naqd al-a'la, in the manuscripts of the Old Testament. And the Old Testaments, they have only three scriptures or manuscripts of the Old Testament. One of them was called the Speculus, and it was translated from Hebrew to Greek by only 70 sheikh or 70 people. Well, what happened is, in about 600 BC, when the Babylon came and they took over Israel, and they damaged everything. They damaged even the temple of Israel. They also burned all the books. And the books of the Bible or the Old Testament, they were all burned out, and they were all lost. So what happened, they have to bring people who memorized the Old Testament, and they have to write it again. And so they call it the Speculus. That means the translation of the 70 elderly. That's what it means. And they did that. Now the second manuscripts that was found are the Dead Sea Scrolls, and they were found recently, and they were written about 200 BC, actually 200 AD after Jesus Christ. There is a third one called the Masoretic. The Masoretic was also written about 400 BC. And when they did some kind of discrepancy, like they tried to match it together, they found so many discrepancies. Like, for example, the book of Isaiah, they say they only have 75% of the book in the Dead Sea Scrolls, but they don't have it in the Masoretic. It's so crazy. For example, the word shub that I was telling you, that's why I remember that, because I studied that. It means come back. It was mentioned 125 times in the book of Jeremiah, in the Masoretic, but only 109 times in the Speculus. So there are some discrepancies because of that. And that was also one of the turning point for me when I was studying at the Southwestern Baptist Seminary in 2011. We were just sitting like this, and he was our teacher. He was Dr. Stokes. He was teaching us about, the differences and the discrepancies between the manuscripts. And one of the elderly men, he was doing his master's degree. He was a pastor, and he said, "How come?" And everybody was quiet. He said, "How come? This is the word of God. Which one is the really word of God? How can we believe in that?" And the doctor just smiled and he said, "You know what? God permitted people to come and change whatever they want in the book. And that's actually, God's will. And if the books came like it was written from the beginning, then it's not going to be suitable for us in our days and place. But God permitted that, so it will be suitable for us in our age and in our time." And that just like tore me apart from inside. And nobody actually said anything. But inside, I just went back and I started thinking, I'm like, there's no way, how come? But if you go back to the Quran was, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed it 1,400 years ago, has never been changed. And just like Ahmad Didat used to say, he said, if you take all the Bibles of the world and then you throw them in the sea, you take all the Qur'ans and you throw them in the sea, and you tell the Christians, go ahead and bring another Bible, they will never know how to write it again, from which version, which translation, However, the Quran, that it was written in the original language in Arabic, right? You will see millions of Muslims who know the Quran from cover to cover without any mistake.